Okay, so when I say the word Switzerland, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Chances are it's something straight off a postcard, right? This perfect, idyllic image of serene beauty.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're picturing those pristine alpine peaks, maybe some unbelievably delicious chocolate, or those watches that are just total masterpieces of engineering. It's known all over the world as the spot for honeymooners and luxury seekers, and honestly, for good reason.
But is that really the whole story? Is there more to this country than what we see on the surface? Okay, let's dive into this. Because what's hiding beneath that perfect postcard image is, well, it's way more fascinating. First things first, behind all that stunning scenery, Switzerland is an absolute economic fortress. I mean, despite being a pretty small country, it stands as one of the most powerful economies on the entire continent. Let me just throw a number at you that kind of says it all. $92,000. That's not the price of a fancy watch. That is the average annual income for a single person living in Switzerland. Just wow. And just to give you some perspective, that 92 grand a year puts them way ahead of other major economic powerhouses like the United States and Germany. So you gotta ask, where is all this money coming from? Well, it's not just one thing, it's a whole mix. You've got what many people would call the world's best banking system. You've got the iconic luxury watch industry, and of course they're the top chocolate exporter on the planet. Then you add in a massive $17 billion a year just from tourism, and you can see how it all adds up. It's even home to huge global organizations like FIFA. And you can't really talk about Swiss wealth without mentioning its legendary banking system. That reputation for secrecy became so famous around the world that the term Swiss account basically became political shorthand for hidden offshore money. Okay, so the country is rich, but what's it actually like to live there? How does all that national wealth trickle down and shape the culture and just, daily life? Well, a pretty big clue is the average life expectancy, over 84 years. And it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? When you've got clean air, great food, and a sense of financial security, people tend to live longer, healthier lives. But there's this really unique mindset that seems to power the whole society. And this little story illustrates it perfectly. Our source tells us about a young woman who needed a loan. The bank was offering one at 4%, but with some really heavy collateral. So she went to her mother, who hit her with this line. This is the perfect example of what we can call Swiss pragmatism. It's this business-first way of thinking that's so deeply ingrained it even applies between a mother and daughter. I mean, the mother's logic was simple. The bank wanted a guarantee. She didn't, so her risk was higher. And that justifies the extra 1% interest. It's not personal, it's business. This pragmatism and this desire for order, it leads to some, let's just say, unique rules in society. For instance, in some apartment buildings, you are literally forbidden from flushing the toilet after 10 p.m. to avoid disturbing the neighbors. No flights land at airports after 10 p.m. for the exact same reason. It's a society that values order, quiet, and practicality, even in marriage, where the average age is a pretty mature 32. But maybe the most shocking and defining part of the Swiss identity has nothing to do with money or quirky rules. It's about something much more fundamental: survival. For centuries, Switzerland has been this beacon of neutrality. It's surrounded by the great powers of Europe, but it sat out World War I, it sat out World War II. I mean, it hasn't been involved in a foreign conflict for over 200 years. Which brings us to the big question, right? How? How does a small, landlocked country manage to keep its independence and peace while empires are rising and falling all around it? Do they just cross their fingers and hope for the best? 115%. That is the capacity of Switzerland's nuclear fallout shelters relative to its population. You heard that right. They have enough fortified underground bomb shelters to protect every single citizen, with room for another 15% of the population to spare. They aren't hoping for the best, they are prepared for the absolute worst. So let's try to put all these fascinating, kind of weird pieces of the puzzle together. What is the picture of the real Switzerland that starts to emerge? It's a land of profound contrasts. On the surface, you've got this breathtaking natural beauty, but just underground, there's a nation-sized fallout shelter. Above ground, there's incredible wealth and freedom, but it's all guided by these really strict rules designed for perfect order. And for one last mind-bending contrast, just when you think you've got it pegged as one of the most expensive countries on Earth, you find this out. In a country where a simple meal can be pricey, you can earn a PhD from a world-class university for as little as 100 euros. What?
So, what is the real Switzerland? Is it a pricey paradise that's built on luxury and beauty, or is it a deeply pragmatic haven, meticulously engineered for prosperity, for order, and for ultimate survival? The truth, it seems, is far more complex and a whole lot more interesting than any postcard could ever show.